This is the third of four sections for the video lecture. Right now, I want to talk about music videos. Now, of course, there are a lot of music videos out there, and some of them are more interesting than others. I think this is a great video. We're stepping back a little bit from our chronology um, to watch this video. I feel that music videos are an important part of the video art world, and some videos are more artfully done than others. This video by Nancy Sinatra, it is by far not the oldest music video. I'm not sure which one the first one would be, but this is actually from the 60s. A lot of people associate music videos with MTV, or in this case VH1, but it predates essentially cable television. And what this video was produced for was for promotional things. And so they're like bands like the Beatles or even Elvis did promotional videos that became music videos. In the 60s, you would have been able to see this video maybe at record stores or at even on these special jukeboxes that would play videos when they played the song. Those weren't common, but they were around, and so music videos have been produced for a while. This is a music video from 1984. This is, I'm not sure. When did MTV start? First MTV video. 1981. So, MTV began in 1981, and this video almost certainly never made it to MTV. At least, uh, it would have had to have been censored. But this video was designed and produced by Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol was a really great dude. He had his hands in all kinds of things, including the music industry. So if you've heard of bands like the Velvet Underground, he really promoted that band and managed them. This video by the Cars, like I said, the song by the Cars, the video is produced by Andy Warhol. I want to show it to you, but I want to warn you that there is some nudity in the video, and it's mild nudity, but that reason really makes me say, this one probably wasn't on MTV. Of course, there have been way more music videos, like I said. And some of them are really great, and some of them aren't so good. But art and music definitely go along, and I think it's a great way to think about music videos and art video. All right, let's move on to the next slide. A video by the artist Pippilotti Rist. She does a lot of installation video, meaning the videos are all encompassing often, where the videos are projected onto the walls and the ceiling and the floor or objects, things like that, in a room. So you walk into an environment of video. This video isn't like that, but it shows a good example of the type of work that was being done in the mid 90s. In the mid 90s, artists then had access to computers. They really, the computer, the video processing for, consumer computers wasn't as strong as it is now, but there was some computer technology that artists would have had access to because it got way cheaper. And in this, she's using technology such as the green screen and really mixing video. Pippilotti Rist was a musician and is a musician, and a lot of her music or her videos come from this like weirdo art punk music. It's sort of hard to categorize, but also that weirdo art punk culture. And let's see this one. I like this video because she really is playing with technology in an interesting way that was before not really available to artists.
Was on fire and no one could save me but you. Strange what desire will make foolish people do.
It appears to me that she's using a mix of sort of like lo-fi video with this high technology of the time. I find that interesting, and she's using it in a way that creates something that feels like a dream. Even the song feels like a weird dream. It's a cover of a famous song that you might have heard by Chris Isaak. All right, let's jump up a few years to 2002. This artist is definitely doing a performance, and the camera is documenting that performance or maybe even assisting him. This artist, William Pope L., crawled. It took him 5 years. You know, he didn't do it all at once. But he crawled the entire length of Broadway in New York City. And he dressed like a crazy man the way they have him in New York. But he dressed like a Superman, like a goofy Superman, and has a skateboard attached to his back. What I like about the video is that the camera appears to be at his eye level. So you're really like along with him for the ride. And I imagine that the camera is like on a skateboard or something and someone's just wheeling it very slowly and they wait for him to crawl. It's one thing to see him do the performance in real life, and it's another thing to see it on a video. The performance in real life, you might be like, oh, who's that crazy guy over there, and cross the street. But the video really sort of elevates that into the art world, and it gives you a point of view perspective of the artist. So he's on Wall Street right now, which is the very start of Broadway. And he's going to make it all the way through Manhattan over 5 years. But he's going to make it all the way through Manhattan up to the Bronx. And when he gets tired of crawling, he starts to roll. He just flips on his back like a turtle, but a turtle with wheels. It really looks like he's tortured. And it really might be painful doing what he's doing. So as cameras got smaller, the artist could take the camera with them easier. It became possible to do strange videos like this because the first portable cameras were actually very heavy and very bulky and very expensive, so you wouldn't want to break them. This one's also from 2002. This video is actually comprised of found footage where the artist Omar Fast is grabbing it from YouTube or from, I guess there wasn't YouTube in 2002, but grabbing it from television or other sources that he can find. I find this video very mesmerizing. Many of you will be creeped out, but check it out.
I want to tell you something.
Come closer.
Don't be
Upset?
and don't get emotional. Just get near me and pay attention.
Please. Look, I know
That you're scared. I know what you're afraid of. You mistrust your body. Lately, it has been looking more and more foreign. It's been doing strange
things.
You suspect that it has been keeping something from you. That knowledge of your own death is already programmed inside it somehow. That it's stored in a primitive
Organ
that in between the crush
of blood
and digestion, your appendix or spleen
sits obliviously.
still like an overgrown traffic island keeping watch over a terrible
Secret
You worry that this knowledge will arrive
at
your very last moment, not as a
spiritual revelation accompanied by an
overwhelming test.
Isn't this creepy? I really like it. It's also very creepy.
you're afraid of dying alone.
There's a sort of genre of video where things are captured from the internet.
Happening
It's like a collage, or from television, from mass media. I think that Omar Fast did a really really good job with this video. But in the early 2000s, it really became possible to capture such videos and edit them in a seamless way. Before, it would have been very, very labor intensive. You might have been able to use a VCR and hit start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. But he was able to use a computer and really edit it down using software that became even more readily available. I mean, Pippilotti Wrist had software, but this is better software, easier software, more affordable software. So around the year 2000, you start seeing videos that really grab from other things. Now, I want to show you another video by Omar Fast. We're going to have to sit with this one for a little bit. I think it's really great, and I will explain it to you, I guess a little bit right now. What we see here is, in this image, are two screens. We've got a guy on the left and the artist on the right. The guy on the left is in the military, and the artist, Omar Fast, is interviewing that guy on the left. And so these screens are actually hanging in the middle of a dark room. And so on one side, you see these projections, and on the other side, you see other projections. The artist is going to interview this guy, and this guy's going to tell some stories. So the artist strings the stories together in an interesting way.
So, how do you feel about improvising?
I guess it depends. You know, it depends on like how you feel at the time, whether you're awake and alert and everything. Sure, I can improvise.
Can you improvise now?
You need me to? You're not gonna ask me to dance, are you? No, I'm sure I could. I guess it depends on the subject. Something I'm knowledgeable about.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to improvise an excuse for work, or improvise a reason why I failed to be where I was supposed to be. So I think we improvise on a daily basis.
All right, so let's improvise.
Okay. When I was brand new to Germany, it was my first Christmas that I wasn't home. My very first Christmas I wasn't home. But I had met a German girl, beautiful redheaded German girl. And I didn't know that she was absolutely insane. She would stand on the side of the road and watch as we drive past and blow us kisses and stuff, give us a thumbs up. But, she was blowing kisses at us so fast, it looked like she was just slapping herself in the face. It was actually pretty funny, but it was sweet at the same time. When you see stuff like that, you think, hey, we're over here doing a good job. But as time went by, the kids were a reflection of their parents' feelings. Their parents, if they thought we were there as liberators, the parents would be like, hey, the Americans are coming, go say hi to them. So she asked me if I wanted to go out. And since I was new in Germany, I was thinking to myself, if I'm not going to go home for Christmas, I'm going to have the best Christmas I can. So we went out on a date. And it started off like really nice and ended horribly. We had a really nice dinner and everything. And then we went to her place. She lives with her parents still. And we were making out in her driveway. And she said, I want you to hurt me. And I was like, maybe she doesn't know what she's saying. Then she took me into her house. She was going to go into her house and get changed. I'm like, yeah, I'll wait for you right here. And she's like, no, you're coming inside. So I went inside, and this is Christmas Day. I meet her parents, her whole family, actually, because it's Christmas Day. And they don't speak a lick of English. So now I'm like, wow, they're just staring at me. They don't understand a word I'm saying. They're talking to me, and I don't understand a word they're saying. It's just really uncomfortable. And it's night, and there's not a whole lot of lights because they don't want us to know that the people who make the decisions don't want anybody to know that we're there, so everything's done under cover of darkness. We're on a landing strip, but unlike other landing strips that actually revolve around there being a lot of lights, this one is dark. There's a bus there, several buses, and people running around trying to get bags unloaded real quickly. And we're getting off the plane, and they're counting us as we're getting off the plane. To make sure that, we're all wondering, okay, they counted us when we got on the plane, now they're counting us when we get off the plane. Where was somebody going to hide? But the weather is kind of, it's night, but it's hot. It's just warm, and it's really humid. And even though it's dark, you can't help but start to sweat a little bit.
Are you scared?
I'm nervous. This is still our first date. And then she asked me if I wanted to go upstairs, and I was like, yes. And I jumped out of the thing and went upstairs, and she was chatting on her some sort of internet chat thing. It was all in German, but she was chatting in English, and suddenly she pulls off her clothes, and there's scars everywhere. And I was like, did you do that to yourself? I mean, doesn't it hurt? And she says, it's not painful at all. It just helps for me to remember things that happened to me. So then that was strike two. And then, we went to the club, and we were having a good time. And we're making out again, and she told me she loved me. And she showed me a cigarette burn, and that was it. I started freaking out. I was like, look, you're seriously fucked up. I'm like, how do you know you love me? We only met a week ago. We're going out on our first date. You show me you love me by burning yourself. I mean, you have got to get help. So I just crossed my arms, and I was like, I want to go home right now. Because she drove. I didn't have a car. So now she's driving me back home, and she's mad, and I'm mad. And, this one stretch of road that we were always driving on every other day, it never altered, and there was no scenery. It was all sand and sunshine, and then the heat of being in that Humvee because it's hot. You're wearing all your gear. We used to joke around and say that Humvee had some sort of gas leak in it because at the same times every day, that commute was an hour long. We would start to doze off behind the wheel, or I would start to doze off behind the wheel. People would sleep in the back. Whoever was in the passenger seat would fall asleep too, and I'm pretty sure the gunner was asleep half the time. But usually I was just fighting the Sandman. I mean, it was an easy drive, but it wasn't an easy drive just because you had done it so many times, blah, blah, blah. And just as I'm dozing off, I see the biggest fireball I've ever seen in my entire life in front of me. And it's one of those things where you see it before you hear it. Obviously the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound. And
How do you know that you're not dreaming this, that you're not sleeping?
Oh, it certainly feels like I'm in a dream. It does. It feels like I'm in a dream, but I know that I'm not.
How do you know that you're not?
I guess what woke me up, because at first I was new in Germany, in a part of Germany I'd never been before. In her car, I was afraid she was going to go crazy. And the odometer on her car stopped at 150, and I looked. You know, I knew we were going fast. I looked over at the odometer, and I could see the needle is past the highest number. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Why am I putting my life on the line? At some point, a vehicle started speeding up behind us, and I knew I was going to have to fire a warning shot. It's one of those textbook cases where you know you're going to fire a warning shot. And I realized that I couldn't fire into the air. He wouldn't hear or see me do that. But at the same time, he was coming up on us real quick, so I aimed my weapon at him, hoping he would see it. I was thinking to myself, come on, you have to see the burning vehicle. You have to see the Americans shooting. You have to see me pointing my weapon at you. Stop. But he didn't stop. So I remember leaning over. I'm like, how fast are we going? And she just kind of laughed and said, you don't know anything about love. Did you know that? And I remember I freaked out then too. And I was like, we do not need to be going from Vilseck to Munich. It's an hour and a half drive. We do not need to make it there in 40 minutes. Because we were seriously going, I think, almost 200 miles an hour. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to shoot into the vehicle or shoot at the vehicle. I'm going to have to do something. So I think to myself, I know what will get his attention because I was a pretty good shot. I'll put a bullet right down the center of the windshield. And at about the same moment I decided I was going to do that was the same moment I heard somebody, I don't even know who it was, behind me say, shoot. And so I shot. And the bullet went in the center of the windshield just like I wanted it to. And I didn't want to hit the driver, obviously. I wasn't trying to hurt anybody, just make him stop. And the car did stop. It fishtailed a little bit, and it stopped. I was like, good. You know, I messed up his windshield. I didn't care about that. I wanted him to stop. He stopped. But then a woman got out of the back seat, and she started screaming, like wailing, like wailing. And I didn't know what had happened. It didn't occur to me, you know, what had happened. I thought maybe I just scared her or something. So I just remember getting really apologetic. Like, hey, you're freaking out. I'm freaking out. She's like, what is freak? It was really funny because like her English was like my German. I had to think about what I was saying first in my head, and then it would come out. And it would come out wrong, but it would come out to the point where she knew what I was trying to say. But when she was angry, just English words were coming out. They weren't sentences. The words were. It was just words. It was just random English words coming out, and I could not understand what she was even trying to say. And it would make her even more upset. So I just remember that she swerved to the right really hard to avoid rear-ending the vehicle in front of us. And the car fishtailed a little bit and skidded, went up into the air, and just kind of floated off the road beautifully. Like a little one-word dialogue. Like, wow, the car stopped. But then the driver and the passenger and another passenger got out. Like all four people got out, and I realized, oh my God, I think the car was full. And I aimed at the center of the windshield. I remember thinking to myself, oh no. And the other soldier who was pulling rear security with me, he said, I think you got someone. And the way this woman was screaming, and the way everybody jumped out of the car, I was like, I think I did hurt somebody. And so I can't remember if I called out for the medic because my first instinct was to run out there and, you know, start apologizing and seeing if there was anything I can do to help the person who was in there who I might have hurt. And so I was calling for the medic, but the medic was still working on the soldiers who were burned in the vehicle. And I had to explain. I was like, well, you're confused. I'm confused. I just want to go home and sleep on it, and I'll call you in the morning. And she's like, she accepted that. So we started driving again, and I just kept my mouth shut because I didn't want her to pull over again. And at some point, I don't remember when it was, but they pulled a body out of the back seat. And the way they pulled him out, you know, they kind of just like grabbed his legs and let his upper part just kind of, you know, his upper torso just kind of like flop on the ground and everything. And then they pulled him out, and everybody just stood around and looked at him. I was like, man, I can't watch this. I can't watch this. I didn't mean to do that. And I was like, you know, so I went back to the front of the vehicle. I got my wits back about me. At the time, I was like, shit, you know, I'm going to go to jail. I just shot somebody who didn't need to be shot. I didn't know that that kind of thing would just be ignored later on. But I ran back to the rear of the car, and I remember yelling, "Never call me again!" And I slammed the door, and she couldn't get in through the gate. Or no, I heard somebody yell, "They're opening the trunk! They're opening the trunk!" Are they going to get weapons or what? As I went back to the front of the vehicle, or to the rear of the vehicle, so I could see what was going on, and they put the guy in the trunk and drove away. And that was it. And if the guy was okay, or if the guy was only wounded, why would they just throw him in the trunk, drop the trunk, and drive him?
It's sort of an intense story. Both of them woven together. So these images would have been on the other side, the opposite side. Remember, on the other side of these screens. I'm going to show you what would have been on the reverse.
I'll Patrick talk to you, but that's enough.
Alert and everything. Sure, I can improvise.
Can you improvise now?
Do you need me to?
So the audio lines up perfectly.
No,
The conversation between them lines up perfectly.
I guess it depends on the subject. Something I'm knowledgeable about. Really.
And you can see that the outfits change. The hair, the placement of them
We had a really
changes.
nice dinner and
So
everything.
these
Then
recordings were done on
parents still, we were making out.
that on different days at different times, but strung together in a perfect way. I think this video is phenomenal, and I really look forward to sharing this with students. I think there's a lot to say about the video, but it's really great. That's the end of the third section of 4 for the video lecture.